Hello everyone, welcome back to another What I Eat in a day on my plate as a vegan. And so here's what I had to eat one day last week. For breakfast I made a toasted jumbo oats bowl. For this I first melted down a teaspoon of coconut oil in a pancake pan. You could also use a skillet. I then added in 1 cup of jumbo oats, and just as a heads up, porridge oats will not work for this. I coated the oats well in the oil and toasted them on a low to medium heat, turning them constantly until they began to smell a little bit like popcorn. Then over in a separate bowl I added 1 cup of sweetened almond milk, 2 tablespoons of brown rice syrup and a pinch of pink Himalayan salt. I whisked that up and then slowly added it to the toasted oats. I stirred it through just to cover the oats, and then I left that on a very low heat for around 5 minutes. After 5 minutes I turned off the heat and just left it to sit for a further 5 minutes. At this point the oats had soaked up all of the liquid. I then added those into a bowl. This was enough for 1 portion. I then added on some coconut yogurt. My favourite ever vegan yogurt is the cocoa yogurt. It is so good. And then I also added on some strawberry chia jam. I'll link to my blueberry chia jam below. Just simply swap the blueberries for strawberries. And I swirled that through and then just topped it with some flaked almonds. As I say, this is enough for 1 portion, but it can be doubled and then half can be stored in the fridge for breakfast the next day. The oats are super creamy, a little bit chewy, but in a really good way. And you could top this with all sorts of fruits, nuts, seeds, like you would a regular porridge, and you can just make it different each and every time. But my favourite way is with the coconut yogurt and a chia jam. It's a little bit like a vegan Muller corner yogurt. For a little something between breakfast and lunch, I had one of these Gray's protein bites. This one is in the flavour cocoa and vanilla. These are basically little flapjacks, but chocolate and vanilla flapjacks. They've also got these little crispy pieces in them, as well as linseeds, sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. They're pretty tasty, just like a homemade flapjack, really chewy and good to kill any chocolate cravings. And there's also about 5 grams of protein per bar too, which is pretty good. Then for lunch I made these grilled aubergine and hummus toasts. I first sliced up an aubergine and took the 2 smaller slices. I placed the other slices to soak in some water. I then brushed a griddle pan on a medium heat with a little bit of oil and placed the aubergine slices into grill for around 6 minutes. In the meantime I put 2 slices of crusty bread into toast. I then flipped over the aubergine slices to grill over on the other side, and once the toast was done I just placed that on a plate and spread on some hummus. I then added on each aubergine slice, and then I spread on a little bit of harissa paste. I'd also put in some pine nuts to toast whilst the grill was still on. Then I sprinkled those on top. I added on some fresh coriander, squeezed on the juice of half a lemon and seasoned it with salt and black pepper. On the side I just put some fresh rocket, some half cherry tomatoes, and I drizzled on some balsamic vinegar over the top. One of my favourite things at the moment is making loaded toasts. I love the different combinations and you can come up with so many different toppings. I can't describe how good this one is. I could have probably eaten another 2 slices. I love the texture of aubergine when it's grilled, and it just goes so well with the hummus and the harissa. There's so many flavours in there. I recently shared a spinach toast recipe which I like to have for breakfast. That's also another favourite of mine, so if you haven't seen that then I'll link it down below. I needed to pop out later in the afternoon, so I just made myself my current favourite tea from the Bluebird Tea Company. It's the rhubarb and custard loose leaf tea. It's pretty amazing. I take around a teaspoon and I added that to my keep cup in the strainer and then just poured in boiling water. Whilst that was brewing, I just snacked on a few blackberries that we had left over in the fridge. These ones were huge and so juicy, they were really delicious. Once the tea had brewed, I removed the strainer and added in a splash of almond milk. You can drink it with or without milk, but I just feel it's so much creamier and more like rhubarb and custard with some milk in it. Gave it a good stir and then I was good to go. I love my keep cup and the fact that I can just take my tea with me everywhere I go. And then for dinner I made a curried pearl barley, lentil, mung bean and vegetable stew with cauli rice. For this I first heated 1 teaspoon of rapeseed oil in a large pan, and whilst it was warming up I chopped up 1 white onion. I then added that to the pan and just fried it off until it was soft. I then minced 3 cloves of garlic, added that to the pan too and cooked it down. And then I grated in 1 thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger. I then sliced up the leftover aubergine from lunch, added that in and allowed it to cook down for around 3 minutes. And then meanwhile I chopped up a courgette, stirred that well, and then next added in a pinch of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, a teaspoon of turmeric and 2 tablespoons of curry powder. Gave it another good mix and again left that to fry off for a few more minutes before then adding in 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. I then took this amazing Mr. Organic ancient grain mix of pearl barley, spelt barley, red split lentils and green mung beans. I used half, which was around 250 grams, and I just rinsed it under running water. I then added that to the pan, turned it through everything, and then I added in 1 tin of chopped tomatoes, a can of coconut milk, 2 cups of vegetable stock, and then I seasoned it really well with some salt and black pepper. I brought that up to a boil and then turned the heat back down and left it to simmer on a gentle heat for around 35 minutes. Meanwhile, I took a small head of cauliflower, trimmed it and quartered it, and then I put that on to steam for around 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I then transferred it over to my Magimix food processor, and then I just pulsed it until it broke it up so it almost looked like couscous or rice. When the curried stew was done and the majority of the liquid had cooked down, I served that up on plates first and then served the cauliflower rice on top of it. I thought if it was the other way around, the cauli rice would maybe go a little bit mushy. I topped it with some coconut yogurt. I also sliced up some fresh green chilli and added that on top, along with lots of fresh chopped coriander. This is one of the best stews I've made in a good while because of the fact that the stew had the pearl barley in it. I didn't want to serve it with rice as well, so the cauliflower rice was perfect for this. Cauliflower rice is so good and I don't make it enough just because I don't find it that filling, but with the lentils and the beans also in the stew it worked really well, and again the yogurt on top was amazing and just complemented this really nicely. And that is it for another day of food I have to share with you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. As always, all of the recipes will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again soon. Bye!